The Love
Oh
Boat.
no.
Soon we'll be making it. Oh, I'm sorry. Look at us having all fun. I love that we had our group dance.
It was
Not
kind of
planned.
scary. We have a guest today. I think she's already afraid.
Yeah.
I'm just disappointed you didn't tell me we were dancing our way in. I
I like her
ready.
attitude, guys.
Dancing is also a part of self-care. It's very therapeutic, and movement is so good for the body. So music and movement.
Oh, I like it.
We are so excited to be here today. We've got all of our guests, Cindy and Christina, are celebrating some birthdays, people.
Amazing.
But we are so excited to have everybody here joining us to learn more about the Self-Care at Sea cruise. And we have a guest because we've had a lot of people asking us questions about who are caregivers, but they're asking about how can I get a caregiver to cover for me. And a lot of people think maybe I can ask my family, maybe I can ask some other people, but we're bringing in an expert on all things home health. And our friend Jessica is here from Care Scout. Hi, Jessica.
Hello.
Oh, I hope Jessica can come on the cruise with us. That would be so much fun.
I've actually asked for them to build that into the budget. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not.
That is a great idea.
Yes.
I asked.
So let's go around and for anybody new who is just leaning in and being like, what's this thing about? What's going on? Who are all these people? I think we should introduce ourselves real quick. And I'm looking at the Hollywood squares. All we need is 3 more so we can have X takes the circle or X takes the square. But let's start with Miss Elizabeth. These are all our co-hosts for the cruise. Elizabeth, you want to tell about yourself?
Yeah, love it. I'm one of your cruise directors for the Self-Care at Sea cruise. We're going to share all about that. I am Elizabeth Miller, certified caregiving consultant, certified senior advisor, living in Atlanta, Georgia, and founder of Happy Healthy Caregiver. So helping caregivers mitigate burnout or recover from burnout with real self-care strategies.
It's so good too. You got to listen to her podcast. Fantastic.
Thank you.
And Miss Christina Keys over in Washington. We're going across the country and it's morning over there. Miss Christina.
Hello. I am Miss Christina Keys. I am one of your cruise directors and one of the designated dancers on the cruise because we are all dancing on the cruise, right? I am a caregiver advocate and speaker, and I go around the United States and share about what it's like to be a family caregiver and how to help family caregivers. And I'm a consultant for businesses who are helping family caregivers as well. And most importantly, one of the funnest things I'm doing is being one of the cruise directors.
Yes.
Dancer on the cruise with you guys. So I'm super excited about this and for all the people to join us.
Awesome. Okay, wonderful. Christina is awesome as well. Okay, then we have our beautiful Dementia Darling, who is actually, she has a real name. That is not her name, but Carrie Alberts, although we call her Double D.
Well, it's my birth name.
Wow. Oh, it was your birth name and you decided to go with
They
Carrie.
looked at me and they're like, dementia. Yep.
That was exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. So Carrie, tell us about you.
Yes, I am so excited to be here. I am a cruise girly. I love cruises, so I can't wait to be with you on there. I have dubbed myself the Dementia Caregiver Cheerleader. So I need to get a uniform. I think I will for the cruise and just kind of go around with my pom-poms and as you're having a drink and just be like, yes. So I'm going to be cheering you on as always. But I'm Dementia Darling on social media and now real life. That's what I'm called. So please hang out with me. We're going to have so much fun. And I'm just honored to be here and celebrate you because you deserve to be celebrated. So it's an honor to be here.
Oh, I love that. And Carrie's been on multiple podcasts as well, guests all over the place. We just did a podcast talking about sleep and dementia and sleep for caregivers. So that was a lot of fun. So we'll be sharing that with everybody. And then JJ.
I wanted to make sure you didn't miss me. Did y'all see me? I was like, I know she never lets me talk. Did you notice that? It's me. So, there you go. So I am JJ. I'm yet another co-host of the cruise, and I am Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver. I am Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver. Before Natalie tells you this, I am the oldest sister. Yeah, Natalie's just a little bit younger. And our podcast, all of our social media is about the good, the bad, the ugly of caregiving. So we like to relate, educate, inspire. But all these ladies know that we like to laugh a lot. And we said planning today. I just wanted you guys to know I brought all my formals. I was like, I thought we were planning for dresses today, ladies.
So sweet.
Wait, I need formals.
Oh,
What? Oh, girl, it is cash. It is formal. It is whatever feels good to you.
Bathing suit is formal on a cruise, by the way.
Thank God I have Newly.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
this is all like wash and
Preach.
wear. I said formal, but it's like go in the dryer. So
Okay,
we're good. Can I
Path-friendly.
introduce this? This is Natalie. Can I say it that way?
Oh, well, if you'd like to.
Natalie, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Hi, I'm yellow mustard over there compared to the gray poupon. And so I am the middle sister and a co-host with Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver. And we are caregivers for our mom and my husband, who's a head and neck cancer survivor. And we have just been so privileged over the last 2 years to do lots of great things to support caregivers alongside our fabulous co-host. And I don't want to waste any more time on me. I do want to mention our other co-hosts, Cindy and Christina Harden-Weiss with AEC Corner. They are amazing. We'll make sure all of the links to our respective websites and social media are in the chat so that everybody knows how to connect with us. We are just a plethora of wonderful resources. And the biggest thing we will always tell you is you are not alone. And so that is our big thing. And why we came together to do the Self-Care at Sea cruise, because it's meant to be fun and you should take care of yourself too. So we have a guest with us today, and we've got the cruise, and I'm going to let JJ talk about Jessica in just 1 second, but I want to give you the quick deets on the cruise. So the cruise is on the Norwegian Aqua. It is October 19th through the 26th of this year. And and basically it's for everyone. It's not just caregivers. We're telling you, bring your family, come by yourself, bring your loved one, do whatever feels good to you. But we're just going to say, just come. And we've got amazing destinations in the Caribbean. It leaves out of Miami. And just as a get-go, you can go to funseas.com/self-care to be able to learn more information. We'll keep talking about the cruise. As people have questions, we encourage you to use the chat. And I'll let JJ introduce Jess, and then we'll round robin the questions.
I usually have like, oh, wait a minute. There's also a special going on right now.
What, a special?
I know. So yes. I'm allowed to tell the special because there's a couple of disclaimers. Can I read those in my disclaimer voice too?
You may now read them.
Okay. So there is a special right now, and we, of course, don't know how long it's going on, but it is buy your first guest airfare. You get the second guest airfare free. Okay. So, but here's the disclaimer. Can I be serious?
Ready.
Promotion is subject to availability, capacity controlled, and may be changed, withdrawn at any time without notice. Other restrictions may apply.
I wish you'd have said it faster, but that was exceptional.
I know. Okay, let's get serious here. Okay. So we have talked to a lot of people. Top concern for caregivers who need respite, guys, because we talk to a lot of caregivers. We are 8 months out, but they need respite care for a few hours, days, and a week. What are we hearing? What is everybody here? I need to leave the house, but what is it?
I don't have anybody to provide care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't afford it. Guilt, all the things.
Yeah. All the things. So today we have with us Jessica Donahue, and she is with Care Scout. I'm like, okay, is it like a Girl Scout? What is this? They're selling cookies. But it is Care Scout, and they believe that you need quality home care without the stress. And I love that saying. So Jessica is a Care Scout care advocate. Okay. And she is going to help us with home health care. Not just like, okay, here's what it is. She's going to help us from like moment one. So Jessica, thank you for joining us today. We're ready. Like, teach us, because Natalie and I have failed miserably with home health care. I already told you that.
Preach.
Like, I know.
Been there. Yeah.
So, thank you.
Absolutely.
let's
Well, I'm
talk.
so honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so happy to be in this space with these wonderful and amazing people. And yeah, I'm really pumped to talk about home care. This is definitely my career and my bread and butter. And I think, before you even pick up the phone, right, and you make that call, the most important thing to start with is like, you got to take stock.
Mm.
Where am I? What do I need? And that's a really, really big question. So like, let's break that down a little bit. And what I usually like to do is like, let's just start in the morning. Okay, so you're up, your loved one opens their eyes, and how does the day start, right? Like, do they get out of bed on their own? Do you find them downstairs eating breakfast? Are you helping them out of bed? Are you helping them with their personal care? Are you making their food? And really just going through moment by moment and wanting you to take stock of, what do you do? What do other people do now for you informally? What could they do for a little while? Your neighbor may come over once a week so you can go volunteer, go to church, whatever it is. Could she do that every day for a few days? Taking stock of what you have, what resources you have, and then where you have needs now, and also where you're going to have needs if you're wanting to go away for a period of time. So really, before you even pick up the phone, feeling like you have an idea of what you're calling them for.
Okay.
So it almost sounds like, do you do should you almost like do a time study? Like a
I mean, I
journal for
would.
maybe a week or
Why
2
not?
weeks to kind of see, and if there was anything that was outside the norm, you would just kind of jot that down for your schedule and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. I think that would be a great idea, and that would help you really feel prepared. But it also might help you to write in there like, I wanted to go out to dinner with my friend on Tuesday, but I couldn't leave my loved one. I wanted to go to a exercise class on Wednesday, but I couldn't leave. I couldn't find anyone. And maybe that'll help you think about where you want to plug somebody in long term. Because one of the things that like JJ and I had talked about is respite's great, and respite's so important, but not just for 7 days for a cruise. Like, you kind of need respite ongoing. And if you could bake a little bit of that into your life now, maybe once a week or twice a week, not only do you get to have a little bit of a breather ongoing, which is so important, but you also get to know a caregiver, you get to know an agency, and then when you're ready to step away for a bigger chunk of time, you have somebody you've built a relationship with, you've built a rapport with, and you feel a little bit more trust. Or if you flamed out big time with the first one, you've moved on to the second one, you've learned some things, you're ready for that, and you're more prepared than if you're calling them, I need respite next week for 3 weeks, and you've never met any of these people before. Like, you know what I mean?
Because the first one doesn't always work out. I
Preach,
know what you
girl.
mean there.
Or the first 6 sometimes.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
Sometimes.
It happens.
Absolutely.
It happens, people.
It
It
does.
happens. We're dealing with people, and we know we can all be a little flaky every now and then.
Yeah, Natalie especially. So, okay, what do I do? Like, do I just like draw? I guess for me, I'm like, Google is like I'm nervous about going into Google. So,
Right.
I mean, how do I find these people? I mean, I would probably call like Carrie, but she's in Las Vegas. That doesn't help me at all.
Right. I agree. I wouldn't go to Dr. Google for this kind of thing any more than I would Google my symptoms, for an illness or whatever, because you're going to go down a rabbit hole you probably don't need to go down. So if you have friends and family who've used care before, neighbors, anyone like that, those are great places to start. Even your doctor's office, they may have recommended agencies in the past. They may have run into these people. Many of them have worked in the same field for a long time. So any word of mouth referrals that you can get, pooling, that's going to be helpful. The good and the bad, right? That's just going to be a helpful baseline. I also think people should call their area agency on aging. It's a wealth of information. And not just on what potentially could be good home care options for you, but also for so many other programs, other respite benefits you may not be aware of in your state. They're going to be local to your area. If you don't know how to find them, I always Google my counties. Like, I'm in Essex County, Massachusetts, area agency on aging. You're going to find out. So, those are a great place to go. You can use the Care Scout website. Now, our services are still primarily for some long-term care insurance companies and things like that. But by going to our website, you can see that we have these providers that we vetted, and we kind of put them through the ringer. So even if you can't get the special pricing and things like that, you can be like, okay, well, Care Scout has vetted these people. And so we've looked at their financials. They're not a pop-up here today, gone tomorrow. We've looked at how they train their caregivers, how they provide ongoing training, and then we do ongoing surveys. And what I really like about the surveys is they're not just of the people who are receiving care, but they're also the home care aides. Are you actually getting the training that you're saying you're going to get and things like that? And so we're doing those ongoing and reviewing that people should still be in the network. So carescout.com is a great resource for seeing some of that stuff. And you can, find providers that way as well. So you've got some options. You can kind of cast a pretty wide net. Definitely consider looking on the CareScout website as one of those places.
Okay.
And then, you should really, if you're going to go to Google, just remember, when you look at nursing homes, they get a rating. You can see this one's got 5 stars, this one's got 1 star, and you can understand what that means. There's no standardized rating system for home care. So if you go onto like Google or something like that, you're going to get a Yelp review. And it's the same, like,
Oh no!
As she said, she was taking.
I'm like, okay, here's the thing. Okay, so
She's coming back.
No worries. We're not going to get dysregulated.
What do you think she was going to say? There she is.
There she is.
sorry, I don't know. It said it reloaded. I was using too much memory, but
we
back
were at
now.
the edge of our seats.
We're like,
what
did we
a
get
dramatic effect. I mean, obviously, right? We know that. I just take it with that grain of salt, right? Take it with that grain of salt. This is a Yelp review. Somebody put this online. They were having really strong feelings. So if you're going to look at those reviews online, just understand that's what you're looking at.
That's true.
Can I
Go
throw
ahead, Carrie?
in a couple
Please.
things with that? Because yes, I love what you're saying. So important. And I worked for a senior services out here in Vegas, and we're not a great state in supporting people. It all goes to tourism. So I was shocked to find that we actually had respite hour programs for people that qualified, and you could get a couple hours a week paid for. So you can always see if there's foundations in your area that you qualify for. Look into the HFC, the Hilarity for Charity grant for respite. My friend got it, and it changed her life for the year. Also, we will, when it comes closer to it in July of this year, the guide program begins for Medicaid or Medicare, and we will start talking about how you can utilize those respite funds. So there is hope. There are ways to supplement. And also, as Jessica's saying, Google, the people who have bad experiences, they're the ones that post reviews. And yes, take it like with a grain of salt.
Preach, girl.
Word
That's
of mouth.
exactly right.
Yes.
Yep.
The people that are mad, they take the time to make sure everyone knows. So I really like to do research on social media. Truly, like, go and see if the company has a social media and they're engaging and showing pictures, or what the things that they do. That can show you a lot. You can see how, word of mouth of caregivers in your area that you can maybe follow and find. But talk to other caregivers if you have that opportunity. I know that's not, something everyone has, but finding resources, you can trust another caregiver. They'll tell you like it is. And they're usually the best resources, if you ask me, is another caregiver.
Oh, yeah. They will. I love talking to other caregivers. I think we all do.
Yes.
Oh, wait, Natalie's got her hand up. Yes.
So it also is a hand clapper. So that I'm going to also hand clap Carrie as well. Great ideas. I wanted to give another website. usaging.org is the national association's the website for all area agencies on aging, because based on state, they can have different names. They can be LOA, they can be AAA. And so I'm just on here on their website. It's usaging.org, and it'll say, it's all kinds of resources, and it'll tell you who their members are. And that's all of your AAAs. So you can look up your AAA by state.
Yep. Yes. And the ARCH National Respite Network and Resource Center is ARCH, ARCH, respite.org. And you can also go on there.
Jessica didn't know. We're like, okay, Jessica, you're like telling people where to go. We're telling them how to get money. I mean, we're selling it.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's true. And I always say, people assume they may not have served long enough as veterans, but you should check with your VSO officer, veteran service officer. Some of the rules have changed around discharging and things like that, and there's so much potential there. So don't rule that out either if your loved one or your loved one's spouse served in the military as well.
That's a great idea. Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Okay, well, I was going to jump and say, I get really nervous, so I'm going to make the first call. So what happens when I call them? Like,
Yeah.
there was one
Right.
time I called and I got like sent a voicemail. It kind of sounded
Yep.
like all scrappy, like a cell phone. And I was like, I don't know about this.
That happens, especially if you call after hours. So that's
Okay.
something to be aware of. Most home care agencies are open kind of on the earlier side of the day. They're usually up and running by 8 because a lot of people prefer to have care in the morning. So they're out there coordinating care in the morning, but they're then often closed by 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon. Many of them have after hours, 24 hours, but it may go to like somebody's cell phone and sound a little sketchy. So be aware of that. I like to call home care agencies kind of in like the mid-afternoon because that feels like a time that's kind of a lull for them around 1 or 2. Their mornings are packed. That's when most of their caregivers are out providing care, which means they're coordinating, this one's running late, this is happening over here. They're with their current clients, and that's where their focus is. And like, I kind of want that to be their focus if I'm going to be their current client. So I'd like to call in the afternoon, but regardless, you're right. And this is very important. We get calls at Care Scout. They're like, okay, I went on your website. I called all 3 of the Care Scout Quality Network providers in your area, and they didn't call me back. And I'll say, okay, well, how long ago did you call? And they'll be like, oh, right before I called you. Like, right. Well, you left them a voicemail 5 minutes ago, and you're nervous, right? Because you're nervous, and you've decided you're ready, and you take that step. And then you leave a voicemail. That's okay. We want to leave a voicemail, and then we want to hear the response. Do they call you in the next couple hours? Do they know who you are, why you called? Are they super polite and helpful? So you're going to get voicemails. You're also going to deal with the office staff in an agency a lot, even if you go with them. So even though the caregiver is the one coming out to the house and providing the care, you're going to call them when you need to make a change, when you need to coordinate all that kind of stuff. So you should kind of jive with them. They should be picking up what you're putting down. You should feel comfortable with them. So that's really, really important to make that call and understand who you're interacting with. And they should take some time to explain to you what's going to happen after you've made that call.
Okay.
I have something that I hear a lot from family caregivers is that, their care recipient or their loved one doesn't want to have the help. They just want us because we're,
That's right.
we're going to white glove the care for them. And I think sometimes as caregivers, we have to show the cracks in order to let the light go in. And so telling this, sharing with your loved one as much as they can cognitively, of course, comprehend this, but how this is affecting you, how that you need a break, that you are burned out, that you've noticed health changes in yourself, that you miss doing X, Y, Z. Sometimes we got to kind of let that show. I know I had like tomato face cry moments with my mom before she kind of got that. And then I also think don't let the cruise or whatever be the first time we're trying this. Like one of the ways that we can kind of step into having home care and having other people come in and help us from outside is first starting with the non-personal things like, laundry and meal prep and housekeeping and, med management and things like that before they're kind of all going hands-on people. I think we have to kind of build up to that and work up to that in order for them to get comfortable having people around. What are y'all's thoughts?
Totally. I totally agree. And Jessica, that's normally, that first visit, is that normally what you recommend? For the first visit? Well,
Exactly.
What is the first visit?
Thank you. Yeah. And I think what you're saying is so true, right? Like, and as home care professionals who worked in the field as caregivers and stuff like that, you get so used to this. It's very rote. I joke, but you'll have, the home health aide. Hi, I'm Mary. I'm here to give you a shower today. Like, let's go to the bathroom. Nobody wants that interaction on the other side. So it's perfectly normal and appropriate to ask them to kind of build up to things. But before you even get to that, before we even meet them, we're going to have like an in-home assessment. They'll call it like a living room assessment, things like that. And they're not necessarily going to send out the caregiver that's going to be coming, but they're going to send out usually their nurse or somebody else. And they're going to come, they're going to meet you in your home. They're going to meet your loved one. And this is where you've got your list, right? So you spent 2 weeks preparing everything you need. And this is where you're going to bring that to them. And they're going to tell you about themselves. They're going to tell you about the agency. They're going to tell you, all sorts of their elevator speech and all their stuff, but they're really there to learn about your loved ones. So they need to understand, not just like mom needs help in the shower, but like mom needs someone to lift her legs over the lip of the tub, and that kind of like details that's going to make a huge difference in someone's care being successful. But you also bring your list because there's weird stuff and you'd rather get it out there now. Like some states, you can't clean windows. They can't get up on a ladder, whatever it might be. Like, let's just have that conversation now. So you're not expecting them to do something they're not allowed to do down the road and things like that. So it really should be more of like an assessment and an interview on both sides.
Okay. All right. That is good to know. I know Mom, she thought the lady was there, but she thought the lady was there just to clean the house. And so she would ask her to do all these cleaning things. I was like, Mom, she's not the maid. She's actually here to like help you. And that she was like, we should fire her. I was like, Mom, she's not a house cleaner.
Please do not. Please do not fire her, Mom, please.
We worked really hard to get her to stay.
So let me ask you, go ahead, Jessica.
Oh, it's just to say a good agency and a good caregiver can roll with that a little bit and understand that someone may not understand fully why they're there, either because they can't cognitively or because they'd really rather not. So having them roll with that and work with that is vital. And it's okay to tell people up front they're going to experience some resistance.
Yeah, let's talk about resistance a little.
Just a little.
What if the person that I care for might not be the kindest? They might wake up grumpy and just exist that way. And so how do we, because if I'm a caregiver, let me tell you something. I've worked in human services field, and when we've had, made referrals for services, sometimes we don't feel like we get the whole answer as a provider. And because they want to hold back some information that could be impactful and influential in whether they accept them or not. In other words, the person's not nice. And so, or they are physically aggressive. So how do we have that conversation as a caregiver without fear of thinking everybody's going to shut me down?
Well, they shouldn't shut you down. I mean, because I as the professional coming in, like, I would want to know that. I would rather know that up front. And as the agency, I would rather know that up front and try to help find caregivers that can support that person's needs. And so that way, if I'm the caregiver walking in and your loved one is grouchy and yelling at me or whatever, I'm not taking it personally, because I know that's just kind of how they are. And I was expecting that walking in the door. So the more honest and upfront you can be, I mean, at some point you just have to say, maybe you pull them aside, maybe you don't say it in front of your loved one, pull them aside after, give them a call, say, listen, I want to talk to you a little bit about my mom's personality or some of the challenges that we have with her care. And you can couch that too and here are the things that work really well. These are the things that I do that mitigate some of that, right? And then they also can try to leverage those things to build their relationship too.
That is good to know.
Okay, so I'm going to do another question. I'm going to switch completely a little bit.
Okay.
I want to talk about the cruise, and I'm going on this cruise and I'm excited about it. And, but I'm also nervous because this might be the first time I'm gone for like 7 days. Okay. And yes, we know that the Aqua has technology. You're not going to have any problem with phone calls, but it's probably less about the phone calls and being able to FaceTime and stuff like that, and more about what if something happens? What if the person who is identified doesn't show up? And who is responsible for making sure that those shifts get covered and I'm not having to spend half of my cruise coordinating with anyone who will pick up the phone?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you asked. And so a 2-part answer to this. Both parts are really important. Number one, we ask that of the agency right up front. And we talk to them about it, and we talk to them and we make sure they have that 24/7 line so that if somebody calls out in the middle of the night, they're getting the on-call person who can then start to deal with the problem. And you want to make sure that they do have some contingency plans for that and understanding all of that. But also, at the end of the day, the reality is that there will be times, even if you're on a cruise, where your caregiver is not going to show up. And it's not necessarily because they're bad. It's not necessarily because the agency is unreliable. It's because the world is unpredictable. We have snowstorms, floods, hurricanes, massive car accidents on a highway, and things are going to happen. So in addition to being prepared with a plan with your providers, you want to have a backup plan informally that you can leverage as a backup to your backup. And so that can be family members, friends, neighbors, people you can call in a pinch. And you want to kind of differentiate people who can help you coordinate a situation and people who can help you with the care. And what I mean by that is, like, I could call my 20-year-old nephew in a pinch and he could go over and make sure my loved one's fed and dressed and everything else. But he's probably not going to be able to like coordinate and on all that kind of stuff. But my sister, who's halfway across the country, she could be calling the agency and trying to figure out when they're going to be able to get in there and all that kind of stuff. So there's sort of two different roles that you as the caregiver are filling all the time. And if you can split them, that'll double the number of people you can leverage around you. You can also look into something like the private pay geriatric care coordinator. They are someone who could do some of that coordination. It is a service. You do have to pay for it, but in your absence, which could be another peace of mind. If you were truly worried about that and you felt really isolated, that's such an amazing support just to consider as well.
Is that the same thing, Jessica, as an aging life care manager?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Yes.
The link in that and the perfect.
That's a good question.
I hadn't heard of that.
I haven't either.
I mean, that's like, wow.
I hadn't either. Well, and JJ left me in charge of mom. Well, me and Emily, because Emily and I are like, well, we barely make up a JJ, but she left us in charge when she went on this really long cruise and I was super jelly. And so, and we were able to be okay. And I was a long distance caregiver and Emily was close by, but we also know that we had our Aunt Jane. Aunt Jane is like for us, what would Jesus do? She's the other J. And so she's fantastic. And so she helps also keep our mom under control too. And so I think it's really important to have other people. I would have never thought of having, because I think, I'm paying for this service. They should have to do it. And it seems a little naive to say, well, why wouldn't I have a backup plan just in case? Because they can say, well, we'll just give you your money back. I mean, I hate to say that, but I mean, it happens. It happens when you don't have somebody.
And things happen that are out of their control. Unfortunately. And so it's always better to be overprepared and have too many backup plans and have annoyed all of your family, sending them your itinerary and your 3 sheets of information and who to call in an emergency than not have done that. And then you're getting a call on a cruise.
I love that.
Also, bad things can happen when you're on a cruise or not. So
Exactly.
just saying,
That's very true.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So go for it. Because it could happen if you were there anyway. Like, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, but it's like, don't let that hold you back from living your life too.
That was good advice, Carrie, because I remember someone told me that as a caregiver, it's like if you worry and something bad happens, you suffer twice, but if you don't worry and you make a plan and you have some backup in place and then something bad happens, you only suffer once. So like, to your point, like we are out of control in a lot of the situation. And I think we can help you as cruise directors, like plan the best that you can plan for this. And you are smart, savvy people who have already survived, 100% of the rough, stuff that has already happened to you.
Yeah.
So true.
Jessica, I know when we first talked, you and I talked, this is really important. You're not just you got 8 months here. So we are talking about some planning. So those first times, and I know that Elizabeth had mentioned it too, you want to get your person, your loved one, used to it. So you can start. Home health care is not just you have to start and they completely take over. And 4 hours is fantastic for a caregiver. I got to tell you, I mean, there's a lot of us out there. It's like, dude, if I had 4 hours, I would go to sleep in the car. Like, that's the best time. I'm going to go to Walgreens. But you can start with 4 hours. There's no limit on home health care. They're not going to say, I'm sorry, you're not buying 40 hours a week. I mean, how do we start? How many hours do we take? How does it work? So that 8 months from now, if I want to go away for a day or 3 days, or how does it work?
Good question. So the kind of hours and stuff, they vary a little bit in different parts of the country, but in general, you want to think about 4-hour chunks. Anything shorter than 4 hours, a couple of things happen. And so I don't love it for people. First of all, it's not that much time. By the time they get in the door, you get them settled, you get out, you've got whiplash turning around and coming back because it's over.
That's right.
But beyond that, many agencies have a 4-hour minimum. So you're eliminating a lot of possibilities. And the reality is, for the caregivers, this is their livelihood. They don't want to spend an hour here, an hour here, an hour here. It's going to elongate their day and the parts they're not getting paid for travel. So if they do a 4-hour shift twice, they're done. And the reality is it's better for them, which means these agencies are taking care of their staff. as well as they can, which is really important. And we want that because we know there's a national caregiver shortage. So we want the agencies that are keeping their staff happy as well as us. The other thing that happens is the price tends to go up. So if you're looking for like 2 hours, suddenly it goes from like $35 to $70 an hour because they can't get anyone to take those shifts. So you end up paying 3 times as much for half as much care. And so it's really, there's a small subsection of the population that works really well for, but for most people, give yourself a chunk in the afternoon, in the morning, whenever you want it, maybe twice a week, if you can afford it, if you can swing it. That's going to be like a really nice baseline. Give yourself some time, give yourself a break. And, you know, just thinking about starting there, you could absolutely start longer. You could do a whole day. It depends on what your needs are and what your loved one is, how well it goes. And these agencies, you know, any of them worth their salt, they understand that this is a moving target and you're going to see how it goes. And if it's going well, you're going to try to add, and they're going to work with you to try to, you know, find places where they can add the caregivers that you like in your schedule and things like that. So a little bit of flexibility on both sides goes a long way.
So can we ask you this? Can we talk about money? Let's talk about money. Thank you. And so, because Elizabeth's like, girl, yes. Because, you know, there's a lot of different respite programs out there, but what is the average cost? And it will fluctuate based on where you live, but what is the average cost for home care? And I'm glad you talked about it's more expensive if you do onesie twosies as opposed to 4-day or half a day and full day.
Right.
What is that? Give us the general idea, and then we'll throw out as influencers and experts some ideas in addition to what we talked about earlier.
Okay. Yeah. So you're right. It's going to vary wildly across the country because it's really all based on the state minimum wage. So in states with a high minimum wage, you're easily seeing $30, $40 an hour. In states with a lower minimum wage, you may be looking at something in the mid 20s. If you go to the Care Scout website, we do have a cost of care calculator. You can put in your zip code. And not only that, but what's kind of fun is you can slide the little bar. So you may not need care now, but in 5 years, how much do we think it's going to be based on those projections? So you can look at all the cost of care data in there specific to your area. But I would, if I had to ballpark the whole country, I'd put it around $35 an hour.
Okay.
All right.
And I think about, so Carrie, I know you mentioned Hilarity for Charity. I know that AARP is great because they also have a section of trying to find resources to help. I was just actually on their website yesterday. But I think about the Lifespan Respite Grant. That is something that's $650. That is something, even if you were able to say, because people could say, that's not going to cover me for a full week. There's 256 hours in a week. Okay. And so, yes, I do know that. And so, so that's more if you multiply that times the 20 or $35 or $30, whichever. But what it does is that could allow you to practice. It allows you immediate relief and practice to see how your loved one's going to do, so that if you need to pivot, then you pivot to something different. And so I know with Medicare, recipients, there is a component that's built in there, but it is not home health that I'm aware of. It is typically the person goes to a skilled nursing facility, and that's where they would do their respite. And I know folks get a little concerned about that because, again, they can be up and down, but that's no different than any provider is what I would say. Ladies, any other pieces that you'd want to say? Oh, I see the chat's really going.
And is there any insurance? Well, my question is there any insurance because you just said future costs. And so that makes me really nervous. I just want to ask this question. But when we're looking at it, we bring it in there because I know I want my caregiver to give me respite. Is there insurance out there that will cover home health care?
Oh, absolutely. There's certainly long-term care insurance plans that cover home health care. You could definitely look into something like that for the future. Absolutely.
We'll have another class for that.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole
And
other
I am
topic.
not an expert on this either, but I know one of the things my husband and I did for us, we don't have long-term care insurance for he and I, but we wanted to kind of prepare for the future. And so one of the things our insurance agent recommended that people can look into is something called a living benefit, where you can take money from your insurance policy while you're still living. So that might be something that people can ask their person about. I was also thinking, like, caregivers are super creative. Like, we can, we can kind of put some things together. Maybe your faith community has some resources that might be available to you. Maybe there are college students in your area that are looking for credits and things like that. They're planning on going into this field, that might be interested in that. And I think
Ooh, good
too, like I
idea.
never tried this personally, but like, you know, assisted living communities sometimes have vacancies and will allow you to kind of try it out too for like a week to see what that's like. And that depends on their availability. And of course, you'd want to find a reputable one there. And then, you know, I work a lot with employee resource groups for working caregivers. And I feel like, again, like going in and tapping into your ERG where you, if you're a working family caregiver, to find out like word of mouth and recommendations. And then I don't think we talked about hospice yet, but if your loved one is on hospice, they also provide respite services that you can ask and check into.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
No, I love that you brought that up, Elizabeth, about hospice. And then also if your loved one already attends an adult daycare center, try to up it for the whole week and then just have someone who has to take them and pick them up and do the kind of night shift, morning shift. You could also utilize those adult daycare respite programs.
You know what? I will say this. I know that Christina's feeling under the weather. And so she's putting some stuff in the chat. So that's why you haven't heard from her. And I know she's under the weather and she is such a trooper. So we love you and we hope you feel better. Something that Christina put in our chat, our side chat was, hey, what if you were to reach out to local caregiver groups and see if there's opportunity to swap some services? Because I think about my younger sister, Emily, you know, when my mom would go to the day program, you know, she used that time to catch up on things like that. But she also knew some other folks. And if somebody had asked her and said, hey, could you come help me with this? Just if it's 1 day or 2 days, most caregivers will help another caregiver. And so, and there may be folks who are former caregivers that may say, hey, I'm willing to do it. Part of it is just simply doing the ask, even on your social media, on your Facebook and your friends and family, because I think there's so many people who want to help, but they may not realize what you need. And so by simply asking, I think you'll be shocked at the response that you get from individuals. And then how do you coordinate that? Because you may have a volunteer that just coordinates all of the care and they're your primary person. And then your other people help you. And it may be a blend of home health and private individuals. So I think don't get stuck is what we're going to encourage you to do. Don't get stuck in, I can only do it this way, or I don't have enough money, because we are quite resourceful as caregivers.
True. It's very true.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll talk for a minute here.
Yeah.
Excuse my voice, but so when my mother was on hospice and I needed respite for that because I wanted to be a daughter during that time instead of a caregiver, right? Even with all of my resources, I didn't know what there was, right? And I was tapped out. I was already paying $3,000 a month for my mother's care, right? And I really, and that was with me being her caregiver as well, right? So one of the things I did was, you know, I reached out to the people in my community and I said, hey, do you know of any grants or respite programs? I also put a post on my Facebook that said, hey, does anybody know? I'd really like to spend some time being a daughter, you know, rather than a caregiver, because my expenses during hospice went from $3,000 to $6,000 a month because she needed more care. And I was able to there was a local nonprofit that's a smaller nonprofit, but they gave me $3,000 that was applied to a home care agency.
Wow.
To bring in people so I could be a daughter. And I didn't even know that grant was available. And I'm very active in my community. So don't be afraid to network with the people in your community, network with the people in your support groups. Ask some of the resources that you're currently using as well. Any of the resources you're currently using, whether it's the lending closet that you're getting your medical equipment from or wherever. Ask around, use your voice and say, look, I don't know where.
Yeah.
Where is their programs? Because there are many hidden programs that people don't know about. Small charities of like a couple of friends who got together and who had been through this before, and they have raised money and set it aside, and they're just looking. There are many grants, especially like area agency and people like that. Money goes unused because people don't know about it. So speak up, ask the question in the weirdest places. You never know. who might know
It's the truth.
It's
that
true.
grant is going to be for that respite care?
Isn't there something now too with like this guide program through home care agencies? Is anybody knowledgeable that can talk about that?
Watches
Um,
more
I
like
know it's new. I
It's
know it's
very new.
very
It's
new.
It's
it,
not
right?
officially starting until July 2025. So you would
you.
have to make sure you pay attention when that begins for sure, because right now it's all the agencies getting ready to support the caregivers.
So
But this
ask
is
the
gonna
home
be-
care agency, like ask
if
about it.
they're going to be one of the agencies they can use, because it's going to be specific places.
And
So-
it's specific for dementia condition as well.
This is a program for dementia caregivers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other thing I would recommend is reaching out to your state agencies. I saw in the chat someone had asked about state agencies. So like in Virginia, every state is going to have different state agency names, but you can go in general. So if you go to your state's website, like I can go to virginia.gov and I can look at Department of Social Services. So think about who does human services, think about who does aging and rehabilitation. That group is typically how the money from AAAs are funneled from the feds down to the state and to the local agencies. Look at your mental health boards. Think about those agencies, and that's what you're looking at when you go to the state website. Look at the names of the agencies and look for things that that feel obvious, like social services, aging and rehabilitation. But there's also some folks we have Blue Ridge Independent Living Center here, and so again, there's also 211. So think about information referral. So this is a different way to try to find grants. 211, you've got Unite Us, you have Find Help, you have our state has Virginia Navigator. It also has Senior Navigator, and it has Disability and Veteran Navigator. So each of your states have information and referral systems, but 211 is the national information and referral system that you can start with. And here's the thing, any one of us, if you guys are on here, any one of us can help you in the sense of if you email us or reach out to us, we can do some quick searches because we're super fluent in that. So just please feel free to reach out because I don't mind. I know I don't mind to help. And typically we have a resource list. So we'll share that resource list as well of all the resources you can go after for a variety of things.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to mention is we have that wonderful Facebook page for Self-Care at Sea. If you're not on it, I would say join it. And one of the things that we come across with family caregivers, we have a lot of decision fatigue. Sometimes we feel really overwhelmed. If you're really feeling overwhelmed in this process on how to find care, how to deal with mom doesn't want any care, how am I going to find care for a week, let alone a night? You know what? Drop a comment on the Facebook page. And we'll chime in and we'll help you out. Put the state and the city you're in. A lot of us know a lot of resources, and we're more than happy to help. I also want to say, if any of you have a care coach, a personal care coach you're working with, if you don't know what a care coach is, it's basically a counselor, a coach, or a mentor that's taking you through your care journey. If you have that, they are more than happy to help you find local resources as well. So these are some options where I don't know how to do it. I don't know exactly how to do it. You don't have to. You don't have to do it alone. We're here to help you. So drop something on that Facebook page, a question on that Facebook page, your city and state, or check out some of your local care coaches as well.
I have another question for Jessica. So here's a question. Do you have to be, or would you recommend, do you have to be certified to provide care? Because I don't technically have a certification.
Good question. So this is another thing that varies a little bit state to state. Some states have different requirements. But one of the things that gets really confusing when you start talking about certified home care, and I always try to remind people this, there's sort of two types of home care, and they do really different things. There's what we used to call Visiting Nurses Association that are now kind of calling themselves like certified home care agencies. And these are not the ones that are going to come in and help you in your day-to-day life. They're sort of the rehab services that you get when your loved one gets discharged from the hospital. They're usually ordered by a doctor. There are things like PT, physical therapy, occupational therapy, nursing, those kinds of services. And they're short term. They're usually covered under your medical insurance to kind of boost you back up to your baseline. So when we talk about like certified caregivers, that's often what people are referred to. And then the more custodial caregivers are the ones who are coming from more of a personal caregiver agency. And so they may be licensed differently by your state too. So, that's always something to consider. And many of the more custodial care states don't have certifications for the custodial care. They're only because the ones covered under your Medicare, I mean, they get a lot more certificate because the insurance is paying for them, right? So you may not necessarily have certified professionals. Most of the time, though, the aides themselves do have to have gone through some training. And any good agency can describe to you what that training is. It's usually like 36 hours of classroom training, and they pass a test, and they have to do these, skills and show these kinds of things. All that kind of stuff. So be really careful with the difference, because if you're going to be really disappointed if you call one of those certified home health care agencies, they may not provide home care. You're going to feel a little bit confused. So like you may have loved them. They came out after a hospitalization. They were super supportive, but they're more clinical staff like nurses and PT and OT. They're not the people that are going to be able to come out and sit with mom, help her get dressed, get showered, then make her breakfast, all that kind of stuff. That's not their role. So there's two different types of home care. So just keep that in mind.
I want to reiterate that what you said, Jessica, because that was so confusing to me as a caregiver. Like, home health had to be prescribed by somebody for rehab and services, and it was typically paid for by insurance for a certain length of short-term time. But home care is something that any of us can go out and get a professional caregiver that can do certain types of duties. They can't do, certain types of things they're not allowed to do. I know one of the frustrations for my mom was she was diabetic, and like a home care agency could not give her insulin.
Right.
Which was a bit frustrating, which was why as a family, we typically had to go, with a private pay type of caregiver that we, drew up an agreement with to have some kind of an understanding there, because we would have never been able to leave for overnight or leave for more than 4 hours at a time, because she needed insulin, 4 times a day. So I wish that was like one of the areas where there was a little more leniency, because she was pretty high functioning, other than somebody had to kind of give her pen. And she could even put it in herself. But anyway, I think it's important that people understand the differences, because we're learning such a glossary of word soup salad as family caregivers. And it's super frustrating.
Well, I know, Jay, we've got like 8 minutes left. And this has been, it's shocking, because this is such an important conversation. It's something that I know enough to be dangerous about. And I feel like some people are going to be more fluent in it. I felt the same way about caregiving, to be honest with you. You don't really know it until you get in the middle of it. And you have ideas, you've seen people, but then you're in the middle of it and you're like, woo, dumpster fire some days. And so, and some days are easier and some days are harder, and that's okay. But I think this is a great conversation. I'm so glad we talked about the difference between home health and home care, skilled or unskilled, so certified versus uncertified. And it really is about identifying what works best for families. And so I think that's really important. I did see a question that came through, but I want to wrap us up a little bit and talk about the cruise just a little bit. So if anybody has any questions, Jessica, thank you so much for being with us. We're going to have you stick around for the last couple minutes if you don't mind. Absolutely. But we want to talk about the cruise. Of course, you're welcome to come on the cruise. Ladies, anyone want to jump in and start with, this is what we got and this is going to be great.
Well, I'll jump in. Thank you, Jessica, first of all, because I learned loads. So we just kept her on. We were like, we should have her back,
Yeah, no kidding.
Anytime. Yeah, this was wonderful. So much fun.
Come on the cruise.
Yeah, I know. We could have your own little section. You're like, so.
Just send us that requisition for expenses. We'll take care of you, Jessica.
We'll sign off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
so
the cruise,
important.
Okay, so the cruise here, just as a reminder to everybody, it's October 19th through the 26th. You've got, 8 months And this is the best part. Everything is on funseas.com/self-care. I love the runner across the bottom. Thanks, Sia. So people can know all the details are there. We're going to start putting even more resources on the website. This recording will be on the website so people can listen and learn about home health versus home care and how to access resources to be able to afford it, different strategies. But guys, this cruise is for everybody. It's out of Miami. You're still able to take advantage of the payment plan. Okay. So that's really important. There is the deals that we have going on. It's buy one, get the second airfare free. Again, JJ said the very cute little disclaimer. I wish she'd have said it a touch faster like they do on
Promotions are subject
TV.
to availability, capacity control, may be changed, withdrawn, or at any time without notice. Other restrictions may apply.
I swear to God, just in case JJ's first gig doesn't work out, which is clearly unpaid.
I can totally read disclaimers. But one of the other things is, you know what? Your final payment is not due until June the 7th. Yep. It is entirely refundable until June the 7th. Yes. So go ahead and make those reservations now because the airfare deal may not last that long. I don't know. That's always sketchy. We don't know how long those promos are going to last. And what else, Natalie? Ladies,
we need sponsors. We want.
Oh my God!
Yes,
please.
Yeah. Like if somebody wants to, if you're a business, you have a business, you want to sponsor a piece or parts of this cruise, maybe excursions for family caregivers, so don't have to pay out of pocket for that.
Absolutely.
You want to, swag, whatever. Like, talk to us. We want to help, promote the stuff that you all are doing, and fast track family caregivers to those important resources. And we want to help kind of whittle down the costs for caregivers. So I think sponsors would be amazing.
And we do have a sponsor pack that we can send to you in various levels. So we want to make sure that, especially for those providers out there and businesses who are providing supports to caregivers, be seen. Be seen is what we're going to tell you. And so this is a great way for you to be seen, get promo, and we share all this information on our respective social media sites.
You get to work with us.
I know.
Why would you not?
I mean, are you guys ready for the speed round? This is how
Ready.
I always close it. Are you ready? How many days is the cruise?
7.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
I love it. Chrissy was like, wait, how many days?
Wait, who's doing karaoke on the cruise? We forgot to talk about that.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Where does the cruise leave from?
Miami.
I saw Carrie and Christina jump in at the same time. The name of the ship?
Aqua.
Oh, Aqua. Sorry.
That is a brand new ship on NCL. That's their newest ship. The deposit amount, I didn't tell you guys that part. It's $125. That's all you have to have.
Oh.
And who can go?
Anybody.
Everybody.
Everybody.
And you know what? I'm going to tell
Jason
you, the kindest thing that you can do is if you're thinking about what to get your Valentine, get them a cruise or take them on it. You go with your loved one and, or pay towards. This is a great Valentine's gift. And I know Jason is very excited. My husband, my Jason, is very excited. So he'll be
very excited also. Jason.
Oh, let me tell you something. We all hope your Jason's coming. Sorry,
my
Elizabeth.
Jason Momoa. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to everybody. I'm sure we'll be seeing everybody again next month. Who knows what we'll be talking about next month? Maybe like how to get down into my bikini. Probably not.
We're gonna have a caregiver bikini.
No, it's gonna be love your body come as you are.
Well, I've got that shirt, Elizabeth. That full shirt that's got the bikini on it. That's what I'm wearing.
Oh, I'm doing that.
We're totally having fun.
All right,
totally
guys.
having fun. Thanks so much for
Until
being
next
with us.
time.
We dance it out.
Thank
The Love
you.
Boat thing
Can we dance it out, Sia?
with the Love Boat.
Oh,
Yeah.
and thank you, Jessica and Care Scout.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you for having
Thank you,
me.
Jessica.
Amazing.
Mwah, mwah, mwah. I feel like the Love Boat. Soon we'll be making another run. The Love Boat.